Welcome to Creation in the 21st Century. I'm your host, Carl Ball, founder and director of the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. Now, today's program should get every family worldwide to watch and call a friend, because we're going to talk about portrait in 3 dimensions. Everybody loves dinosaurs, or everybody is intrigued with dinosaurs. I lecture worldwide, and wherever I go, the audience asks something about dinosaurs. Not only children, young people, elderly people are intrigued with dinosaurs. Wouldn't you like to see a living dinosaur? Wouldn't you like to somehow catch a portrait in 3 dimensions so you actually knew what dinosaurs looked like, what colors they presented to the rest of the world? Dinosaurs are a vital part of the creation. I've invited as my guest today a gentleman, a scholar, a cryptozoologist, who, when he's on the program, generates the highest ratings over a long period of years. I have no idea how people know he's going to be on the program. Or I guess maybe they're just channel surfing and they stop when they see him on the program. He's so intriguing, but the information that he has to give is absolutely scintillating. Would you like to see a dinosaur in 3 dimensions? Well, let's talk to Dr. Dennis Swift, my dear friend and special guest today. Dennis, we've been down some jungle trails together, haven't we?
We've been on a lot of adventures, Carl, and it's always good to see you.
Always good to see you. And today's program is going to be an adventurous program. Now, I dig dinosaurs. You've helped me dig dinosaurs in Colorado, actually excavate bones of dinosaurs.
Yes.
Are you intrigued with dinosaurs?
I'm very fascinated with dinosaurs. When I was a little boy, I used to take the box tops off cereal boxes, sugar pops, and with 25 cents you send them in and they'd send you back a little plastic dinosaur. When I was a child, I used to do that and wait by my grandmother's house to go out by the mailbox to get those little plastic dinosaurs. But I never believed I would ever see evidence that dinosaurs and man lived together. Because, you know, if dinosaurs and man lived together, evolution would melt down faster than the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. Evolution would be kaput, destroyed, obliterated, a zero with the hubcaps kicked off. It would be finished. And that's by their own documents and their own scholarly journals.
And their own admission.
And their own admission.
You have stated it so profoundly. I mean, the wheels would run off. And they've stated that in live debate, Dr. Ernst Mayr of Harvard, one of the world's leading evolutionary scholars, debating Dr. Duane Gish. Laughingly and mockingly, he said in live debate, if your friends along the Paluxy could actually prove that man and dinosaur lived contemporaneously, we would have to throw out the old theory and redraft a complete new concept of life origins. Well, you have been a major player in calling for the redraft of life origins proposition. And of course, they've admitted also, if things did not evolve, they had to come by special direct creation. Dennis, you're intrepid, you're fearless. I've been with you, just trying to keep up with you as you've gone down jungle paths and barren deserts. You've spent decades researching this question: did man and dinosaur live contemporaneously? You're the scholar who took me, along with Don Yeager and Dr. Don Shockey, to see the Kachina Bridge, where you identified and publicized a dinosaur and an Anasazi warrior.
Yes.
And the Anasazis died out 1299 AD. Yeah. They disappeared from the scene. And you're the scholar who brought that to our attention. But you have evidence today.
Yes, what
Please
we have
describe.
is in the southern part of Peru. The Atacama Desert that stretches for 1,000 miles is the driest place on the planet. There's also almost no measurable moisture. In fact, it hasn't rained there for hundreds of years. And there's fabrics are the best remarkably preserved fabrics, textiles, and ceramics in the world. And what we're looking at here is from the Paracas culture from about 300 to 500 BC. This is a piece of fabric, Paracas preserved from a tomb, found in one of their tombs, excavated, and here is a Diplodocus-type saurian dinosaur on the fabric.
No question here. And here as well, this major statement. Now, you stated a moment ago, to show the expertise of these people, these were not backwoods people. This was a highly developed culture. You have personally shown me the irrigation systems, which were brilliantly designed, conceived and designed. Now, describe the amount, the stitching amount to show this.
Well, the best fabrics in the world, Paracas and Noskin, the most was 698 threads per linear inch.
Okay.
Is the best piece of fabric they've ever found. More tightly woven than the modern parachute, which is about 185 to 200 threads per linear inch. So they had remarkable textiles, and these are the most sought after pieces of ancient textiles in the world. Also, this is a cup, a Huarango ceremonial cup, Tiahuanaco civilization, about 500 to 1000 AD. It also has a dinosaur on it.
No question about it.
We have two different cultures in the same geographical region, separated by hundreds of miles at different time periods, showing dinosaurs. Below, we have a piece of Noskin pottery, which is polychrome, irrefutable, indisputable. No pre-Columbian expert in the world is going to question that this is authentic. It is authentic. And on that bowl are two dinosaurs very similar to the Paracas,
yes,
Tiahuanaco, and this is from about 400 to 700 AD.
Dinosaur here and here.
Yes.
Now,
to show you an example of the preservation, this is a Tiahuanaco mummy from about 1,500 years ago. You can see the bright colors on the fabric, the texture of the skin. In fact, if you put some water on there, the skin and the hands will swell right back up. They look almost normal, like they've been dead a few months.
Incredible.
Once they bury them, they build adobe tombs, most of them, adobe lined like bricks. Then they put a baraka wood covering on it and about 3 feet of sand. Once that's encased, it stays the same. In fact, when we've opened up tombs, it smells like somebody's been dead just a short time. It's really an experience to see these artifacts in the tombs.
Well, now, the cultural department now permits viewing down into some of those tombs.
Yes, some of the tombs, yes.
Yes,
and,
by authority of the government.
Here's the mochi culture, 600 to 800 D, northern Peru. Here's a mochi vase, always cream on white or white on cream colored. There's stirrup pots, the way the handles are. And we have been accused that these vases, there's two heads, but that's not true. Here's a drawing from one of the vases. Here's the head, and here's the tail of what is a dinosaur. And the mochi culture, their oral tradition that goes back 2,000 years, they say that their warriors used to fight these beasts, and they used shells, like the patutu, and different shells, conch shells, to blow to confuse the animal to attack it. And that's why they would put a shell on the back when they conquered it. And we see that here.
I see. Now, here we have the dermal frills.
The dermal spines that were discovered that was not until 1992.
That's
Stephen
correct.
Zirkus in the Geology, prestigious journal. Here we have down here a Noskin mantelpiece, which was wrapped around the mummy. There's multiple dinosaurs on it. You see here this coloration. The colloquial term is a burn. Once the piece is put on the mummy, there's natural mummification, and sometimes about 3.5 quarts of fluid, blood, serum, other bodily materials would seep out, and that causes a burn. No one can question that. Either this is an authentic Noskin mantelpiece, 400 to 700 AD, or this is a homicide, and somebody better call the Dallas Coroners.
Yes.
I should be on NBC Dateline instead of creation evidence for 20th century. This is no question again about its authenticity. So here we have the two dinosaurs Noskin. Here we have Tiahuanaco, a wood Huarango figure piece of a dinosaur.
And there's no question it's a dinosaur.
Astonishing features. And down below we have another Tiahuanaco cup with a similar dinosaur like Noskin. And then we have a piece of Paracas fabric. This was found in 1928 in Caravanas, Paracas. by the famous archaeologist Jose Telio, and he found this piece of fabric with the dinosaurs on it. Now, to show you that this is not isolated, I'm going to take you to another very arid region, the American Southwest. And these are the Harnada Mugiwan Indians who lived about 1,000 to 1,400 years, 1,000 AD to 1,400 AD. And a part of their culture, I'm a part of a team that has documented more than 4 million petroglyphs around the world. Petroglyphs, a Greek combination word, it means rock carving.
Yes.
Pictograph means rock painting.
Yes.
So here is the iguanodon dinosaur, first found in 1825. They found the teeth, so they thought it looked like an iguana, lizard. So they did it like that, then they did it more dragon-like, then they did it like this at the top, and now they do it like this. They say this is the way it looked.
Yes.
Modern
that's accurate.
paleontological reconstruction. Here's a Harnada Mugiwan, about 1,000 to 1,400 AD. Look at this dinosaur.
The similarity
now,
is striking.
They would do a little bit of striking with the legs to mimic movement. The Indians of the Southwest still do the same thing in some of their rock art. So here we see is an iguanodon dinosaur. Now, many times the Indians would take just a regular stone and just mark out something and hammer it, which leaves big craters in the stone.
Yes.
But they also had a more precise method where they used a chisel and a hammer stone, and they did a preliminary sketch with the chisel first, especially in large images. That's the way the Kachina Bridge dinosaur in Utah
that
is
I've
done.
seen many
and
times.
there is the peck marks on the legs and everything. This is the way they would do it. So they had to see a living, breathing dinosaur in order to duplicate the image. Now here, this is light, but if you follow it closely, is another Harnada Mugiwan dinosaur. The head, the back, the bulbous body, the long tail, the legs. And this is on basalt rock, and it is in the Three Rivers region of New Mexico near Tularosa. Over 24,500 petroglyphs in that one spot. And there's 3 different animals that are supposed to be extinct that they depicted there. So here's like a Comosaurus dinosaur. It all fits the profile that the Bible was right after all. What the
Bible was right after all. Now, in this program, Portrait in 3 Dimension, I was so intrigued with some photographs I saw, photographs you had taken, and here we have the protrusion, a 3-dimensional protrusion of dinosaurs with stripes on their back. Stripes on the back of dinosaurs?
Well, Dr. Stephen Myers, who's an evolutionist, in the summer of 2007 said that no pre-Columbian or American Indian could have seen a dinosaur because dinosaurs do not have stripes like zebras. He said that I was an ignorant creationist and I should leave the research to the paleontologists and the experts. In December the 27th, the 2007 edition of National Geographic, just 6 months later after his phone call and his pronouncement, they did the x-rays of the most preserved hadrosaur dinosaur ever. They call it mummified, although it was not, in the largest C-scan machine in the world.
And NASA was involved in that.
And when they scanned the mummified remains, the fossil of this dinosaur, they came to the conclusion that part of its body had stripes like a zebra.
Yes, yes.
And we have this artifact that's about 800 to 1000 AD. Tiahuanaco and Paracas people, sometimes the Nazcans of southern Peru, they would do a carol vase where they would do the animal in 3D, where they sculpted outside with clay and made it. Now, when we look at this, we see the 2 heads, we see the bumps on the head, we have dermal spines that weren't found until 1992, and we have the stripes similar to a zebra.
Yes.
Once again, Tiahuanacan had to see a living, breathing dinosaur.
Just like Job chapter 40 describes. Briefly, quickly tell us about this.
Well, this is a Paracas vase, and it's around 500 BC. And this vase is of similar to an Argentavis dinosaur. It has look at his head, long neck,
yes,
the body, the tail. Here's a modern depiction of it. Notice here, this ancient vase has the eye sockets similar to this one.
Yes.
Similar to this dinosaur. We only found that in recent times.
That's correct.
But they have the same kind of eye socket region with the bone going out here and the eyes the way it's depicted. So we have this vase, and then we have a Nazcan vase, 400 to 700 AD, with also a dinosaur on that very
Depicted
vase.
right here. Now let's step to the center of the set. I titled this program Portrait in 3 Dimensions. Dr. Swift was able to acquire and bring this material out of the country to the United States because the government has officially pronounced that there can be no genuine portrayal of dinosaurs existing along with man. So everything that has been brought here is absolutely legal. We only have minutes, but I want you to show us, first of all, this wooden profile. I saw a picture of that, but this is the real artifact.
Yes. It's Harango wood, which is the hardest wood, like mahogany. You can see the fissures, the cracks, the darkening, the weathering.
Yes.
This was found in a tomb in near where it is modern Bolivia. And you see the markings, the teeth, very, very, very explicit, detailed, the back, and it has a little bit of anthropomorphic characteristics, but it's definitely a dinosaur. It's not a crocodile, not an alligator. You put it up against what a dinosaur looked like, it looks similar to an allosaur or a similar dinosaur. Now, we have, that is Tiahuanaco. This cup, see the cracking and the weathering?
That's astounding.
Something 200 years old is going to look really fresh. You can see what's happening to this cup and inside. On this, we find a dinosaur.
Incredible.
We find the same dinosaur image in Paracas, Wari, Nazca, Inca, Paracas, Moche. The different cultures over 2,500 year time span, you see these same identical type of dinosaurs.
And quite often on the fabric as well.
And on the fabrics. Now, we have this vase too. We have this little cup. This is Tiahuanaco, and you will see the dinosaur right there.
Marvelous dinosaur with a curvature of the tail.
Yes.
Yes.
That is on a Harango vase, hardwood. Then, this ancient piece found at Paracas by the famous archaeologist of all proven archaeologists, Julio Tello, 1928. See the dinosaurs on a Paracas fabric? This right here is the ancient fabric right here. This was on a mummy. This is done with vegetable oils and stuff. The rest is woven. You can see the same identical dinosaur. Simply astonishing, incredible. Also, as we move along these artifacts, you know, God gave me a promise out of Proverbs 19, verse 17. He said, if you'll be kind to the poor, you lend to the Lord, and I will reward you for it. And I will give you ample evidence. The Lord spoke in my spirit. He told me that.
And this program is a demonstration of that.
It's been absolutely supernatural, miraculous, unbelievable how God has given these into my hands. And through the channels it's come, even those people have become believers in the supernatural. And you know, God's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Certainly.
There never was a day of miracles. There's only a God of miracles. And so this truly is humbling to me. But
He has put in your possession.
and then we have this vase, another Nazcan vase. There's enough evidence here to put any atheist and any evolutionists out of business.
Yes.
And any creationists who say they believe the Bible, but they don't believe the Bible. You know, there's those theologians who say the Bible's inspired in spots, and they're inspired to spots, and others are inspired to spots they didn't spot. Here a spot, there a spot, like a Dalmatian book. Well, it doesn't look like a Dalmatian dog. It's spot on. The Bible was right after all.
Yes.
What God said in His Word, we can absolutely trust. And the descriptions in there are dinosaurs, they're not hippopotamuses. And anybody who's accommodated to modern theology and pastors and scholars have reinterpreted that, they need to go back and trust God, because God always gives evidence.
I agree 100%.
And this fabric right here is Nazcan mantelpiece. And let me hold it here. Can you see that right here?
Oh, no question.
I'll offer anybody $500,000. $500,000. Any atheist, anybody, creationist, anybody, to dispute this scientifically. This right here has the burn pattern. It has body fluids and everything. It's an ancient piece of fabric. And no pre-Columbian authority will ever question that this is not original and authentic. The pre-Columbian authorities will say it's just a monster. And the evolutionists and some skeptic Christians will say, well, no, it's real, but it's just a mythical monster. It's not a dinosaur. It is a dinosaur.
You're going to prove that with these two ceramic vases.
This vase right here is Paracas. 700 BC approximately, when pitifully buffeted Job was crying out of his abysmal misery, sitting in an ash heap, asking God why, God gave him 7 chapters of science questions.
Yes, he did.
He said, why? Lord, have you been to the Pleiades? And you've been to the bottom of the vents of the ocean? And he said in Job 40, verses 15 through 18, he said, behold the behemoth who I made along with you.
Yes.
How he eats grass like an ox. His strength is his loins. What power he has in the muscles of his belly.
Yes.
His tail sways like a cedar. His sinews are tightly knit together. His legs are like tubes of bronze. His bones are like rods of iron. He is the first of all of God's works,
yes.
and that only God can approach him. See, look at that. That's a dinosaur.
Oh, there's no question
And we
that's
slowly
a
turn it,
dinosaur.
we will see the long cedar-like tail.
Absolutely.
We've seen cedar trees in Israel. They're like 30 feet long and
Oh, yes.
pointed, 30 feet tall.
And
So you
there's
see
the
a dinosaur.
head
Look at
totally
that. Now-
profiled by paleontology as being a
Nobody
dinosaur.
can go out and make one of these vases. I'll tell you, the ancient process is very thin. See the chips?
Yes,
That's the
careful.
weatherization. See the chips from the age on the bottom, the little hole in the bottom?
Yes.
I've seen hundreds of thousands of Peruvian vases and Anastasia vases.
And that is no exaggeration.
There's no exaggeration.
Vast amounts of
In
them.
some cases, they've asked me as an authority now on different Peruvian cultures to identify vases, whether they're authentic or not. So somebody can't come to me and say, you don't know what you're talking about. I've spent over 20 years doing this.
I know you have.
And I've worked with some of the museums in Peru. So you see the head of this dinosaur, Paracas, and then this is
And
your
that's
favorite.
totally consistent with paleontology.
Paleontology.
This is my favorite. I'm astounded, I'm gratified, I'm pleased. You have it. And I wish the atheist and the evolutionist and the compromising Christians and creationists watching the program would take a very close look at what you're going to show us right now.
This vase is Tiwanaku. And if you look closely here, you'll see the 2 heads. I want to point this out because some Christians and some evolutionists are saying that what I have are vases with creatures that have 2 heads, a head on the front and a head on the tail. Now, these 2 heads of 2 different dinosaurs has dermal spines, highly weatherized.
Yes.
The patina is knocked off of this vase. When you make a new vase, it has a different texture. You can't do it like this to make it look like this. And then you see the teeth, the eyes, the tongue. Somebody saw
Yes.
these dinosaurs. You see, here's the 2 knobs on the head, the dermal spines, the stripes.
Back to the stripes, and
Back to
NASA
the
was
stripes.
involved in researching
Here are
to
these-
demonstrate that truthfulness of that.
Right. You know, who are people kidding when they say, how do they know that dinosaurs didn't have stripes? And then 6 months later, God proves them wrong.
Yes.
God always provides evidence.
Yes, he does.
He
For
always
those willing to look.
has the evidence. So you see the long tail
Yes,
on
so
both of
we
them.
have a head and a tail for
The
this
body.
one. So it's not a double-headed monster.
These are 3-toed and 4-toed,
That's consistent with
consistent with the
paleontology.
dinosaurs. It's another criticism. They say they don't have their, well, they do. And it looks like it may be male and female dinosaurs.
That's what I want to emphasize as we near the close of this telecast today. What Dennis Swift, cryptozoologist, has brought to our attention is not only incredible evidence that man and dinosaur lived contemporaneously, because there is no way to so faithfully represent the stripes that have later been found by scientific investigation, the profile of the head, the entire body. There is no way to demonstrate that without having seen living dinosaurs. So it's brought to our attention the fact that man and dinosaur lived simultaneously, but that's not all. This is portrait in 3 dimension. If you look closely at these 2 dinosaurs on this vase represented, you'll see that they're compatible, they're compassionate. You'll see that it's probably a pair, a male and a female. You'll see that they're actively, mobily interacting with living context. In fact, when Velociraptor was first found, it meant the kind mother found near eggs, but they believed this was an egg stealer. Velociraptor was an egg stealer. But they had to change the name of a dinosaur to kind mother lizard because they found a dinosaur, paleontologist discovered a fossilized dinosaur actually covering a nest of eggs. Compassion was indicated. Here we have compassion in a living profile in three-dimensional context illustrated. But in Job chapter 40, as Dr. Swift has indicated, we have an incredible creature, the dinosaur, Behemoth, made at the same time God made man. Actually, on the sixth day, the morning of the sixth day, the sixth literal 24-hour day of creation. Now, not only do we have God stating this dinosaur existed as a life form, but there's an indication of compassion in all the creation. He eats grass as an ox originally. Of course, when agitated, we all can change our diet quite a bit. The compassion of God is demonstrated in what Dennis Swift has brought to this set today. But the real compassion of God was demonstrated at Calvary. God became a man, walked our streets, went to the cross, died for our sins, was buried, arose from the dead, and at this very moment, compassion beyond that of the entire universal dimension is expressed in the tender arm of Jesus. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. Will you pray this simple prayer? Just pray it with me. This simple prayer. Lord Jesus, I'm a sinner. I know you died for me and arose for me. I want you in my heart. Lord Jesus, right now, I open my heart to you. Come in right now and save me. Cover my sins with your blood, and I will serve you with all my heart.
Creation in the 21st Century has been sponsored by Trinity Broadcasting Network, and only with your love gift of support can this program stay on the air. So write to Creation in the 21st Century, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.